Hello YouTubers, today's video is Data Ninja makes easy named ranges in Microsoft Excel. And before I start the video, please subscribe to my channel so I can keep bringing you more content. Okay, so let's dive into named ranges in Microsoft Excel. Now, named ranges are a powerful tool, especially when you start coding formulas in Microsoft Excel. You can refer to named ranges within formulas. And I'm going to take you through a couple of examples now with SUMIF and SUMIFs formulas where we actually incorporate named ranges into our formulas and basically turbocharge our formulas. Now, first off, you're going to need some data to test named ranges and formulas in Excel. Now, you can either work with your own data source, or if not, there's a link here and in the comments below to a free download from Microsoft where you won't have to provide any email or card details. You can just go onto Microsoft Learn and pull down this financial sample Excel workbook here easily. Okay, now I've already done this and it's on this sheet here. Okay, now that's what we're going to use. That's what I'm going to use in these examples. So let's dive straight in. Okay, so first off, I'm going to use named ranges within SUMIF and SUMIFs formulas, but I'm not going to spend too much time on what SUMIF and SUMIFs formulas are. There's another video on my channel if you want to look into SUMIF and SUMIFs formulas, but really we're focusing here on the named range element. So we're really going to fly through the kind of SUMIF element. Okay, now let's get started. So within Excel, I've got an example here of SUMIF. So I've got my data here and I want to sum gross sales by country. Okay, so let's get started with named ranges. Now quickly, I'm just going to delete out some named ranges I've already created. Okay, so we can get started. Okay, now to go onto a named range, okay, I can name either a block of data in my worksheet or a single column. I can name it as a named range. So let's start off with, I'm just going to name my whole data table here in the name manager bar on the top left here. If I just call it data, Microsoft Excel will recognize, create a named range here, okay, called data. Now, I've called it data here and you can see it there. If I go into the named manager, you'll see the named range I've created, and it's got the name, the values there, but it's got the range here, which is FS download sheet columns A to P. So Microsoft Excel will recognize data as being that range. Okay, now I'm not going to refer to this range here. I'm actually going to use, for my formulas, I'm going to refer to singular columns. Okay, and we'll get there in just a second. Okay, so first off, I'm going to show how I would construct a standard SUMIF formula without using named ranges and just using point and click. So what I want to do is I want to sum gross sales by country. So I'm going to give an example here of creating this without a named range. So equals SUMIF. Okay. First I need to say what the variable I'm going to sum by and then what I'm going to sum. So I'm going to go SUMIF country equals that value. Okay, and then I want to sum gross sales. Okay, now that's worked. Okay, but what you'll notice is when constructing this SUMIF formula, I've used point and click, but I've had to kind of jump between my worksheets several times, and I'm highly experienced in kind of working in Excel, but it's more error prone and it's less concise when you're kind of pointing and clicking and jumping between sheets and so on. It's not the best way to work, but I've made it work here just fine. Okay, now that's been constructed with point and click, no named ranges. Now An alternative option I have is to actually create named ranges in my data, and then I can construct this formula by referring to those named ranges. So let's just crack on and do that. So I need, obviously I've only need to name two columns here, country and gross sales. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go in here and I'll just create country, okay, in my name manager, and then gross sales, we'll just call it gross. Okay, now it's very quick to create a name range. I've just named it very quickly, and then I can go in the name manager here and you'll see country is FS download column B, and then gross is FS download column H. Okay, now what we want to do is we're going to do the same SUMIF formula, but we're not going to use point and click. We're going to use our named ranges. Okay, so let's just test this now. So I'm going to say equals SUMIF. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say country. Now Microsoft Excel will auto recognize country equals columns B on the FS download sheet. Okay, so country equals this. Okay, and then I'm just going to type gross, my other name range. Now Excel will auto recognize gross equals gross sales value in the FS download sheet as well. And then press enter and you can see that's worked effectively. It's doing the same thing as this column, except I constructed this formula with point and click, and I constructed this by just referring to my named ranges. But you can see in the second example, I didn't have to leave this worksheet. I didn't have to jump between many sheets, kind of manually point and click a formula. Okay, I just stayed on this worksheet and very concisely just coded my formulas by using the named ranges. So they're really effective, especially if you've got like a data sheet that's, say you've got a workbook and you've got a dashboard on one sheet with a lot of formulas in it, or a summary analytics sheet with a lot of formulas referring to other worksheets in the workbook. Okay, if you use name ranges, you can just stay on your dashboard or your analytics sheet and make use of named ranges, and not have to jump between sheets, and you you're more prone to pick up errors or have problems actually building out the formulas with point and click. It's a very powerful and concise way of working. So what I'd really recommend is either with your own data or with this data source, you pull down this from Excel and just practice yourself and get used to it. I'm going to go into another bit of a more complex example with some ifs. So some ifs are slightly more complicated than some if, because some ifs are basically sums dependent on multiple variables. And again, I use an example of constructing with point and click versus using name ranges. So let's start off first. I'm going to do this point and click. Now some ifs are slightly different, where the order of a sum if formula is different. We actually have to code the column we want to sum first in sum ifs, and then by what variables later, which is a different order to a sum if. Now that's discussed more in my other video, which is dedicated to sum ifs formulas, so I'm just flying through it there. But let's start off, we'll do this first with point and click. So it's equals sum ifs. Okay, I want to sum if gross sales. Now you'll notice here, when there's a named range in Excel, when you select it point and click, Microsoft, when it auto builds out the formula for you, it will just refer to the named range automatically, which is fine. They are interchangeable. Name ranges and absolute references are interchangeable, but Microsoft's automatically picked up gross. So sum if gross, okay, country. So again, Microsoft's picked up country equals this, okay. And then again, we're going to have to flip back to the sheet and then pick up product equals, comma, equals this, okay. Now you'll notice in this, Microsoft picked up our named range for gross and country, but then we haven't we don't have a named range yet for product. So here you can see in the formula for our second variable, Microsoft's used the kind of absolute reference of FS download column C, okay, which is fine, but we just want to call out that Microsoft will pick up name ranges if they're there. If the name range isn't present, it will just pick up the absolute kind of column reference. Okay, now this has worked effectively, but what you'll notice is, again, I had to flip between sheets several times, and it's actually quite tricky in reality to do that. It's not an ideal way of working to kind of be jumping between sheets and pointing and clicking. A much more concise way of doing this is, again, to make use of the name range. So I want to use this example again for a sum ifs. And first off, let's get our named range set for product. So again, I'll just select the column, and the name manager name tab top left, I've just put product. Okay. Now you'll see if I click the down menu here, if I select gross, it will just take me to the column. Product, it will take me to the column. Country, it will take me to country. And again, I can actually see all these name ranges I've built here. Okay. Now let's use these name ranges again in a sum if formula, which you can see this formula is quite long and a lot of navigation to kind of build that out, point and click. But let's try it with all our name ranges. So I'm going to say equals sum ifs. Okay. I want to sum gross. Okay. Where country equals this and product equals here. Now you can see how concise and quick that was, and that really shows how powerful named ranges are, especially if you were to be building a dashboard out with a lot of formula within it. I would definitely recommend you just name range your data source and then make use of the name ranges, because obviously building Excel dashboards, you can build up a lot of formula throughout dozens or even hundreds of cells. So named ranges are super concise, a super powerful way of working. And you can see here, just to summarize, this formula is doing the same as this, except for this we had to do a lot of point and click and kind of navigation and grabbing columns. Yeah, but whereas here we just really concise, made use of our named ranges, and this formula is a lot more concise. It's a lot more easy to read. If you ever had to error bug or anything like this formula would be much easier to kind of debug. And they're a really useful tool, name ranges, and they're really simple to get going with. And I just recommend, as always, you just get your own data or download the data source here and just practice yourself. And that's it. Please subscribe to my channel and support my channel, and I'll keep bringing you more videos. Thank you. Goodbye.